Hey guys, another week has gone by, so of course my siblings are coming over. So let me show you guys how I prep everything and cook everything. Let's take you back to Friday night. I finished work at 7 and I ran straight to Tesco's to get all the ingredients. I didn't need too many things. I had most of it at home already, grabbed a few vegetables, and then I checked out and I went straight to the meat shop. Luckily, the meat shop is not too far, so I went over there, picked up some coriander. Of course, you have to smell your herbs, make sure they're fresh and they smell good. Picked up some onions, some raisins, and then I went to the spices, got some rose, got around 4 kilos of lamb shoulder, 5 kilos of chicken drumsticks, and 1.5 kilos of chicken breast. It was so helpful in the shop, and they also gave me free water. This is a timestamp because I was running home to make it in time for Big Brother final. Also, this morning the milk was expired, and so my whole day was thrown off because I didn't have my porridge, so I made myself some porridge, watched the Big Brother final, cannot believe who won. And then I kind of forgot the time a little bit and it got to 11:30 and I remember I had to prep some things for the next night. I seasoned some chicken, cut up some vegetables, and I just made the chicken filling for the puff pastries. I also made the vanilla cake for the tiramisu milk cake that I'm making the next night, washed the dishes, put the cake in the oven and let the chicken cool, and then I worked on my puff pastry. Once the chicken had cooled, I stuffed all the puff pastries with the chicken, folded them over and then laid them in a tray. At this point, the cake was ready. I set it aside to cool whilst I mixed up the milk mixture and then went back to making some more puff pastries, put them back in the tray as well, poked some holes in the milk cake, poured the milk over, and then I made some kanafa for the puff pastries tomorrow. Added some condensed milk, tahini, and the pistachio, mixed it all together, and I set that aside as well. It tastes so good. I'm actually so obsessed with this. Wrapped everything up, was done by 1:30, and I was up at 10 the next morning. They didn't cut the fat off at the butcher's, so unfortunately I was set back a little bit because I had to do that this morning. Me and my mom are just working together very smoothly in the kitchen, although we have a very small kitchen. Wash the rice and do it a couple times until the water runs clear. Put some boiling water in that and set it aside. We had about 12 cups of rice, which is so much. If the rice expands, add a bit more water and make sure it stays covered. Chuck in a bunch of bay leaves, lemon, star anise, cinnamon, and garlic into your meat and cover that with a lid and let it simmer. For the tomato chili sauce, I took the heads off the chilies, put them in a blender, added some dates for some sweetness, added a bunch of tomatoes. I think I did 12 tomatoes. I had to do this in parts. Added some water and blended that together. And then in a pan, I added some oil, some tomato paste, mixed that all together, and then poured in the first half of the mixture. Also set a little bit of the chili sauce aside. For this chili sauce, you also want to add some tamarind. I soak it in some hot water and get all those seeds that I just showed you out. I blend up the rest of the tomatoes with some onion, some garlic, salt. Here I am soaking the tamarind to get all the seeds out. Then I chopped up some coriander, added that in the blender as well. Added some cardamom, which is probably my favorite part. Blended that and added it in the pot as well. Then I mash the tamarind like this after it's been soaking for a little bit. Take the seeds out and put that in the pan as well. For the seeds that I have, they're still coated a little bit. So I put them on a strainer and take as much of the tamarind that I can out. Add a bunch of salt, mix that, cover it and let it simmer for a little bit. This tomato sauce is so good. It's the perfect balance of everything. With that chili sauce that I took aside, I put it in the blender, add some coriander, some lemon, onion, mint, and a bunch of yogurt, also garlic and salt. I threw in this pepper because it was left over and I blend it all up. This is not as spicy as the other red sauce and it's very minty and it's really nice with the puff pastries. Added a bunch of salt into the meat because I forgot, and then added a bit of seasoning with some water, covered that and let it cook. Then I washed the chicken. Whilst it was straining, I made the marinade. When I'm cooking for a bunch of people, I like to make the marinade in a bowl so I can taste for salt and everything because you don't want to adjust this after. I added all my seasoning, some lemon juice, garlic and ginger and some oil, mixed that all together and taste it. When I tasted it, it needed a little bit of paprika, so I added that in, mixed it, and it was perfect. Once I've mixed that all together, I add it into the chicken, mix it, and I let it sit for as long as possible. I should have done this last night, but I forgot and I was feeling a little bit lazy, so I left it. Then I started chopping some onions for the rice. When I say some, I actually mean a lot. I did so many onions. At this point, the meat looks good, so I take it out, put it in a pan, and put that in the oven. Cover it up, and we're going to open that up later in the day. Then I started working on my dough because I need this to sit for an hour. So I just mix in some flour, yeast, sugar, water, let that sit for 10 minutes. Whilst it's sitting, I coat some of the onions in flour and start frying it. At that point, I took a little break to go see if upstairs was clean. Came back downstairs, the onions were frying, and I laid the chicken in a sheet. Look how amazing these onions look. And then I started boiling some water, added some bay leaves, cardamom for the rice. The dough was ready, so I added the rest of the flour, sugar, salt, olive oil and coriander. Kneaded that and set that aside for another hour. Then I put my rice into the pot, covered it and let it cook, and I was cooking the onions in batches, so we have another batch going. I took the meat out and put the chicken in the oven, and we fried some raisins as well. The onions turned out amazing, set that all aside, started whipping up some double cream for the tiramisu milk cake, coated it with some cocoa powder, set that aside, whipped up some more double cream. This was for the cheesecake filling for the pastries, so I whipped that up, and then I had to go check on the rice and strain it. Added all the juices that I saved from the lamb and then put that in. Added some food coloring, covered the rice and let it steam. I went back to the double cream, added some icing sugar, some cream cheese, mixed that all together, and it was ready for the cheesecake filling. This tastes so good. I can eat it straight from the bowl. I just love a simple cheesecake like this. And then it was time for a washing up break. I had so much washing up breaks this day. It was driving me mental. I had to stop halfway and flip the chicken. I strained all the juices, put it in a pan, and I let that thicken over the stove. Added a little bit of corn flour. Then I started working on my basbousa. It was condensed milk, oil, semolina, coconut. You guys know the drill. I make this recipe so many times on my account. Once that was all mixed together, put it in a tray, and I remembered I forgot to add the Oreos, so I had to add it whilst it was in the tray, and this was kind of annoying, but it didn't ruin anything. Took the chicken out and coated it in that sauce that I thickened and put it back in the oven. Mixed my Oreos into my basbousa, set that aside, washed some more dishes. It just was never ending the whole day. And because the kitchen is quite small, we have to keep washing up and putting things away. I started cutting some salad and added some tomatoes, put that aside on the table, and then my dough was ready at this point. So I stuffed it with some cheese and put it into a muffin tray. We had 12 rolls in total. I don't know why this filmed in slow-mo, but I was making my milk mixture for the basbousa. When it came out, poked some holes in it, poured the mixture over it and set that aside. I chopped up some garlic. I chopped a bunch of garlic, mixed it with some butter and some chili flakes, and then put that on top of the dough rolls and put that in the oven. I coated the basbousa with some desiccated coconut just for aesthetics and went to washing up again and wiping down the surfaces. This is basically the length of my workspace plus the stove top, so it's very, very small. And just imagine that my mom's also around me a little bit doing her things. Cheese rolls came out amazing, so I took them out of the tray, set them aside, and then I started working on my pastries. I scored the pastries and put that in the oven, and then just prepped everything that was going to go on the pastries. This was the chicken. The meat was ready, just needed grilling. The chicken needed grilling. The onions, the raisins were ready. The bananas were ready. The chili sauce was ready. The bread was ready. The basbousa was ready. The tiramisu cake was ready. The rice was steaming. The chili sauce was ready. And this was the puff pastries from last night. Once I knew everything was ready, I could just work on these puff pastries, which was the last thing. I melted the chocolate whilst it was still in the packet and washed the raspberries. Put them in some piping bags, set those aside, put the cheesecake in some piping bags, set that aside. Then I put these puff pastries in the oven. The guests were arriving, so obviously I wanted these whilst they were still warm. Each puff pastry was topped with some cream cheese, and then some were kanafa and some were raspberry jam and crushed this digestive biscuits. Topped with some raspberries, some chocolate, and then those were ready, and it looks so good. And then it was time to just plate things up because the guest had arrived. The puff pastries came out and I put in another batch. The rice was ready, so we mixed that all together. And here we are cleaning again. I was actually getting very tired. I took the cling film off the meat and put that in the oven to grill, and I burnt myself in the process. Brushed each puff pastry with some of that leftover garlic butter and served it with a mint sauce, and I had to run upstairs to get myself ready because the guest had come, and then came back down, turned the oven on to grill setting. My auntie bought this amazing cake. I grilled some of the bread. The chicken was in there, the meat was in there. I put the chili into bowls. My sister bought this and this, which was so good. Put some mint chili sauce in some bowls. The bread was coming out crispy. Forgot to film this yogurt, but I made it with some garlic and cucumber. My cousin's wife bought this salad, which was so good. And we just put everything on the table. We just made sure it was all mixed, added the lemon and the salt to the salads. Just garnished the meat and the chicken with some onions, coriander, plated everything up. I got the serving spoons ready, got the drinks ready. Look how amazing the meat came out. It was so amazing. It was so good. My sister bought this Afghan aubergine dish, so we also had that with the bread, topped it with coriander. The rice was topped with the raisins and the onions, and we just put everything on the table, and it was a great night. We had so much fun. Everything turned out amazing, and stay tuned for next week.